Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today we're doing Kesubos Daf Samach Gimel, Sadi Gimel, number 93. We have a great share for you today. Talk about you give your money over, a guy like Bernie Madoff. You give your money over to someone with a hedge fund or things like that. You gave some money, maybe it's a private hedge fund, and someone else gave some money, you gave more than the other guy, and now the stocks went up. Not in this stock market, but or real estate went up, the investment went up, or it went down. How do you split it? You split the profits and the losses equally, or do you split it according to how much money, the proportion of money that you invested? The Mishnah starts off, Side Gimel, I'm an Aleph, about 5 lines from the top. Misha Hayun Nasa Shalosh Nashim. He's moving up in life. Before he's married to 2 wives, now he's married to 3 wives. Mace, he dies. Kesubos Shalzu Mana. Right? Each wife had a different ksuba. One was a mana. She was on a mana, I guess. Shalzu Masai, and one was a psula. But Shalzu Shalosh Mos, the third wife, she had a Tosefes ksuba apparently written in her ksuba. She's entitled to $300. The ancient mana. The problem is the estate of the deceased husband is only worth $100. So, how do you divide it among these 3 ksubas? Cholkin b'shava. They divide it equally. How do they divide it equally? We'll see. The Mishnah explains. Hayusha ma'asayim. Well, cholkin mana, I mean, they divide it b'shava. They divide it equally means each one takes 33 and a third, right? Hayusha Ma'asayim, let's say there's $200 in the estate. Shalmana no telas chamisha. The one of $100, the kuva $100, she takes 50. Shal Ma'asayim, the one with $200 ksuba. Shal shalosh meo shlosha shalzav. The last 2 ksubas each take 3 gold coins. A gold coin is equal to 25 dinarim, silver coin. So basically it's $75 each. So the first ksuba gets 50, and the last 2 get 75 each. I'll explain how this works in a second. Hayusham shalosh meyos, if there was $300 in the estate, shalmana no telas chamisha. The first woman gets $50. Shal masayim mana. The one with $200, she gets $100. If shalosh meyos, shisha shalzav, she gets 6 golden coins or $150. L'chein gimel sheitil l'kis. The same halacha that applies to ksuba applies to an investment fund. Pichsu o siru kacha yucholkin. If it went down in value or went up in value, the same way as divide up the ksuba, that's the way they divide up the investment, the profits or the losses. So the basic understanding of this Mishnah, meaning according to pure logic, right, you would have said, right, if there's $100, right, so you divide it up based on proportionally how much they gave, right, how much their ksuba is. The ksuba's one's $100, one's $200, one's $300. So the one with $200 is twice the value, $300 is 3 times the value. So I would, the simple understanding, you take $100, there's only a estate of $100, you divide that into, 3 plus 2 plus 1, which is 6 parts. 6 into 100 is about 16 point something, 0.2, 0.3. So the one with the $100 ksuva, she would get $16 of the estate. The one with the $200 would get $32 or $33, and the one would get $48 or close to $50. The other one, which would be proportionate among how much they own. But that's not the way the Mishnah says. They divide it evenly because the idea by ksuva is that a ksuva, that ksuva is a lien on all the property of the husband. So therefore, when you look at the first $100, all 3 women have an equal lien on that first $100 to collect from the entire property. So therefore, you have to divide it up equally. The second case where there's $200 left in the estate. So again, the Gemara will explain in the last 2 cases in the Mishnah why the Mishnah says what it says. But let's get to the Gemara. The Gemara says, Shalmana natelas chamishim. Why does the mana get 50? Tlasim v'tlasa v'tilsa with the isla. This is a question on the second case in the Mishnah where the estate has $200 left. So the mana gets chamishim, tlasim v'tilsa with the isla, right? She only has a lien on $100, the first $100. So divvy that up in 3 ways. She gets 33 and a third. right? The second $100 that has a lien only by the two latter Kesubos. Two latter Kesubos, divide that in half. That's 50 for each of them. So it should be 33 and a third for the first Kesuba. And for the last two, it should be 50, 83 and a third for each of them. Why does the Mishnah not say that? Amar Shmuel, because Sevas Balas Masayim, Labalas Mana, Dinu Dvar Me'enli Imcha B'Mana. The Mishnah is talking about a case where the woman felt bad for the one with $100. So the one who was owed $200, she said, I'm not going to get involved in the first $100. So you can collect your full 50. So therefore the first $100, the lien is only for the first and the third Kesuba. So the first and third Kesuba split that evenly, get 50 out of the first $100. If that's what we're talking about, say the end of our mission. Right? Why did they each get 75? Right? Basically, you gave up your portion in the first $100, so therefore the first Kesuba and the third Kesuba each get 50, right? And from the next $200, the last $200 in the estate, that also we divide evenly, the second and the third Kesuba. So therefore, the one who has $300 Kesuba should get $100, and the other two should get 50, right? And where it says I only relinquished my part of the Kesuba vis-a-vis the one who was $100, so I felt bad for her. However, vis-a-vis you, the $300 Kesuba, I wasn't misalik myself, so therefore she gets $50 because I removed my claim from her. However, regarding you, my claim is still valid, so therefore she gets $50, and we review the remaining $150 of the $200 estate, that they have to split equally, 75-75, because they both have a lien on the last $150. Hayusham Shalosh Meos, the third case in the Mishnah, there was $300 in the estate. Shamasayim Mana. So what does the Mishnah mean that the Masayim, the one with the $200 Kesuba, she gets a Mana? Shivim v'chamisha hu de Isla. According to what we said before, right, that she says, I don't want to have anything to do, I want to relinquish my rights to the first $100 vis-a-vis the first woman, so she doesn't get anything from the first $100. So why in the third case does she get $100? Right, $150 are left. They divide equally the second and third Kesuba. She should only get 75. The third $100 is the only person that has lien on the third Kesuba. So Amar Shmuel because Sevas Balas Shalosh Meos Balas Masayim Lo Balas Mana Dinu Dvarim Enli Makam B'Mana. Right, we're talking about a case in the third case of our Mishnah where the third one feels bad, and she says regarding the first $100, I relinquish my rights to the first $100. So therefore, the first $100 are split up evenly between the first and the second Kesuba. Right. So that's what the third case of the Mishnah is talking about, where the third woman also relinquishes her rights. Okay, so that's the first one that's saying our Mishnah. Rav Yaakov in our pocket, Mishmei the Ravina, Amar Reisha b'shtei tfisos, v'shteifa b'shtei tfisos. He gives a different explanation for our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is talking about where property, it wasn't automatically his estate had that $100 or $200 or $300. It had incrementally, it got certain land fell to him into his portion after he died, and then when certain land falls into his estate, they take right away, and then later when more land falls, they take after that. Reisha b'shtei tfisos. First talking, maybe the second case around Mishnah b'shtei tfisos. Denaflo shivim l'chamisha b'chad zimna. First, what happened? $75 fell into the estate. He had no money in his estate when he died. $75 fell into the estate. Right? We said $200 in the estate. First $75 fell, and then $125 fell. The third case I'm talking about where $75 fell originally, and then $225 fell after that. So to explain this, basically, the second case on the Mishnah, no one is writing, I relinquish my rights to part of the Kesuba. All they're saying, it's part of the estate, all they're saying is that first $75 fall. So $75 fall. So the first $75, everyone has a lien on it. So therefore you split up 25, 25, 25. Now, the person who's owed $100, right? She's only collected 20. She's already collected $25. I mean, she still has rights for another $75. So when the $125 falls the second time, so therefore $75 of that she still has a claim. The first one with a Kesubos of 100. So therefore, of those 75, again you divide it up 25, 25, 25. So she gets 50, and they all have 50 now. And then you're left with 50 left that the second Kesubos and the third Kesubos have a lien on. So they each split that 25, 25. So they end up. So the first one ends up with 50, and the other two end up with 75, 75. And the third case is talking about where the same really, right? The first 75 falls, so they split up 25, 25, 25. Then 225 falls. So out of those 225, 75 are divided up equally. And then what's remaining is 150. So 100, right, has a lien, but the second and third Kesubos have a lien. They split that 50-50. And there's 50 left over. That goes entirely to the third one. That's why she gets 150. The second one gets 100, and the first one gets 50. Tanya, Zu Mishnah Rav Nassan. This is the Mishnah of Rav Nassan. Rebbe Omer, Ein ani roeh dvarav Rav Nassan be'elu. The whole opinion, cited until now, is our Mishnah is Rav Nassan. Rebbe says, I don't agree with our Mishnah. Elachokos b'shava. They split it equally. Now, what this means, Cholkos b'shava, is big machlokes rishonim. I'll explain the way which makes a lot of sense to me. Cholkos b'shava means they split it evenly, like I explained before. You know, it depends on your investment. It depends on the amount that you're owed, right? The one with 100, a Kesubos of 100, is only owed 1/6 of the estate, right? The one with 200 is 2/6 of the estate. The one with 300 is 3/6 of the estate. So that would be divided. If you only have $100, divide it 16, 33, and 50 or something like that. So that's basically how you divide it according to Rebbe, which is the halacha. Rebbe says this is the halacha. Now we're going to talk about an investment. Everyone always wants to talk about investments. How do you divide it up? Well, if you want to know how much money you get when you pull your money in a mutual fund, you know, they're not going to rely on this Gemara. But technically, if there was a kosher mutual fund, someone that, you know, follow the Gemara, you know. So this is the Gemara they would look at. Right, they both gave to investment. One guy had a lot of money, more money. He gave $200 in the investment. One gave $100. Haskarla Emsa. Basically, top of Sadi Gimel and Beis, they divide the money equally. If they make profit, they make $500 profit. So they divide, each person gets $250 out of that $500 profit. And likewise, they lose money, they divide it equally. Amar Rabba, Mistabra, Mil say to Shmuel, Shmuel makes sense, but Shor l'charisha v'amon l'charisha. Let's say, usually nowadays you'd invest in stocks, or you'd invest in the real estate. Back then they invested in cows, you know. So you invest in a cow. A cow is worth something because it can plow your field. So they invested in a cow. Shor l'charisha v'amon l'charisha. And now when they want to divide the money, when he wants to pull out, he wants to get his money back. Right, the animal is still fit to plow the field. It's not ready to be shechted, right? So in that case, since it hasn't come to the point of collection yet, and you want to divide it up, so you divide it equally, right? Because together the cow costs $300. They wouldn't be able to afford the cow if it wasn't for the $100 and $200. So they equally have a portion in it. However, in a case where now it got older, it's too weak to shore, and now it's ready to be shechted, right? The point of collection has come. Like we said before, Rebbe said it makes sense you divided it equally, proportionally, based on how much money you gave, how much money you're owed. Rav Hamnuna argues, he says, even now the collection point has come, we still divide it equally. When you shech the cow, you divide it equally. Mesive, they asked a question on Rabbah from our Mishnah. Shnayim, a brisa. Shnayim she'tilu l'kis. Zem one of zem asayim. Askar le'emsa. A brisa says 2 people gave into a fund to buy a cow. One $100, one $200. So he divided up equally. My lab b'shar l'charisha v'amad l'tvicha. Presumably, we're talking about a case where the collection point comes, where usually people don't pull their money out until it's ready to be collected, until it reaches a certain point. So now it reaches a certain point, you have to shech the animal, right? You're going to sell the animal, and you shech the animal for the meat. So must be talking about that case. And it says, the Brisa says, Askar le'emsa, you split it evenly. But Yufta the Rabbah, refutation of Rabbah. The Gemara says, "Lo b'shar l'charisha v'amid l'charisha." Really, the Bryce is talking about where it's still fit to work. So what about would be the case if it's now ready to be shechted? Zenot l'fi ma'osav, zenot l'fi ma'osav. So the halach would be that everyone gets proportionally in that case, right? Adatani seifa, the seifa of this Bryce says, "Lachach zeh b'shalo, zeh b'shalo." This is a quote from the end of the Bryce. Each person one person took $100, bought a cow. One person took $200 and bought another cow. And the star was and they mixed their cows. Right? Each one takes proportionally. They're selling the cows. We know one spent $200, one $100 on two different cows. So of course in that case you split proportionally. Liflog melistim medida, and then any profits. We should have, instead of talking about that case, right? Should talk about a more particular case. Right, one cow, right, and now it's still fit to work. You have to split it proportionally because the time for collection has come. So the Gemara answers, no, that's exactly what the Gemara is saying. The Gemara is saying, that's where you split it equally. That's what the Bryce, even though it talked about two different cows, it just meant to say it's like two different cows if the shore you bought for Charisha and now it's only fit to be shechted, it can't work anymore. Snan, we said our mission. Our mission says they put money, just like by a Kesubo, each one a different Kesubo. People put money in an investment fund, right? And it went up, or it went down, or went down, or the investment went up in value. Kachin cholkin, whatever the way in a Kesubo they're cholik, just like they're cholik in an investment. My law pichsu mamish osir zermami. Doesn't mean pichsu means it went down in value. Osir means it went up in value. And it would be like the case of Kesuba, right? Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Ua, lo isiru zuzi chati pichsu isira zunisa. Originally, the Gemara thought, right, it went down in value, went up in value, so it's like Kesuba. Now, what is the halacha by Kesuba? Is Kesuba considered proportionate or not? So it actually machlokes between Rav Nassan and Rebbe. We saw it's machlokes. Rav Nassan says, everyone has a lien on the property, the first 100 equally, so you divide it up equally according to Rav Nassan. Rebbe says you divide it up proportionally. So we paskin like Rebbe. So, but the problem is that the Mishnah, right? Rebbe acknowledged the Mishnah follows Rav Nassan. So, from the fact our Mishnah, at least we bring a proof from our Mishnah that it went up in value, went down in value. So how do you split it? You split it. I'd call it la'emsa. You split it equally. If you have $100 only in the state, you split that equally, 33 and a third for each. So you split it equally. So you see a proof from our Mishnah. Even though, right, it's ready for collection now, you split it equally. Or it's not ready for collection. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Ua, lo itiru, right? So the Gemara answers, no, the Mishnah is not talking about a case where the investment matured and it reached a certain amount of money. We're talking about where new coins came out. I don't exactly know what this means, that new coins came out and they're worth more money. I don't know, maybe they bought Bitcoin or something like that. It's a new type of coin and Bitcoin went up in money. Or they use it to purchase other monies. Either Forex, I don't know, they're exchanging money. Zuzi Khati, maybe they exchanged like dollars for the British pounds. I don't know. The point is that the money is still here. It's not that they spent the money in the stock market and the stock market went up. It's that they just have different coins, maybe Forex. So, foreign exchange. So, the money is still there. Pichsu means istir de sunisa, meaning they traded it in for some currency in like Africa or something like that, some francs in the Congo, and the money is extinct, doesn't worth anymore. The only thing you can do with the money is put it on the bottom of your foot to heal a wound. So therefore, the money, in that case, that's what our Mishnah says, that type of investment, you split it equally. Like Rav Nassan said in our Mishnah, you split it equally because it's not ready for collection. However, if it were ready for collection, right, it matured the fund. So if the fund matured and it's ready for collection, then you would split it proportionally, like the Gemara really said before, that if it's a shor lecharisha and now it's only l'tficha, everyone agrees It's ready to be shechted over here, and then you split proportionally because it's up for collection, so you split proportionally. The only question is if it's still fit to be worked, and you want to pull out of the investment early, do you split it or not? So that's really machlokas Rav Nassan and Rebbe in the Mishnah. Rav Nassan says you split it equally, and Rebbe says no, you'd split it proportionally anyway. That's the conclusion of today's shir. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion, where we talk more about the logistics of this halacha, right? How do we paskin? It seems like paskin. Seems there's conflicting piskei halacha, because on the one hand we paskin like Rebbe, that like the Gemara says at the end over here, that if it's ready for collection, so then you'd split it proportionally. On the other hand, we paskin like Rav Nuna. He says afilu shor lecharisha v'omer letvicha, right? It's ready to be shechted. It's not ready to work anymore. We split it evenly. We don't split it proportionally. So what is it? Do we paskin like Rebbe, or do we paskin like Rav Nuna? Seems we paskin like both of them. I'm just looking at the Masorah, the Ein Mishpat over here. Seems to paskin like both Rebbe and Rav Nuna. How do you reconcile that? Seemingly different points of view. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.